Good morning, and welcome back. Welcome back to Who Am I? Who am I? What is this program? We ask the questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? What is my species? Where did my species come from? We got questions about that. We have a possible answer, but the answer that we have actually raises way more questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? How did I get here? What have I been doing here? Where am I going? What's the medium I'm swimming in? How does that function? What's my biotechnology? How does that work? How does the universe itself work? Law of attraction and all that sort of thing, and the laws of physics, and who am I? There's so many ways to ask this question. We ask it with two specific items on our agenda about it, because I do think that the world needs some help, a little tweaking here and there. It's actually doing really great, really beautiful, really powerful. Things are working out. However, if we understood the system, we could assist them working out a lot faster. We could lean into the way it works instead of our activities kind of what we do as we fuss pretty much just holds it back, holds back the goodness, holds back where we're going. The truth of the matter is that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and it's evolving, and it's expanding, and it's getting more, and it's getting better. It's because the whole field is doing that. It's not just us, but we are part of the field. We are part of the group phenomenon that's happening. We are individual and we are autonomous, and that's really, really important. But superseding that is that we are part of a larger phenomenon. And so we're going to try to understand how the rules of that work. And the two things we're trying to get at for humanity, the two practical goals, targets. We need to get off of fossil fuel. We really, really, really need to get off fossil fuel. And for some reason, people have gotten us to focus off of there. We're focusing all over the place, focusing on all kinds of things that are not the root of the problem. If we would get off of fossil fuels, natural abundance could way more easily come back. And I'm not just talking about let's get off fossil fuels and go back to an agrarian economy. Let's forsake all of our technological dreams and just go backwards in time, back to when it was whatever. I don't know. That's not the answer, people. We've got to keep going forward. There is no other choice. And they've got us thinking that our false choice is that we either keep going with our technological future or we give up and or we have to give it all up and go backwards in time. And this is not, neither one of those are true. We can keep going forward. We just need a different power source. We need a different way to power our society than fossil fuels. And people say, oh, they're working on it. The Department of Energy, those people over there, they got it all covered. They're working on it. Someday we'll get cold fusion, and they'll be able to just produce so much And then they'll just distribute it around, and then we'll have clean, free energy to power our. Only it ain't gonna be clean. Well, it ain't gonna be free. Is what it's not gonna be, because we still have to. From that energy paradigm, we're still producing it in a big centralized power structure, and then sending it through wires by way of a grid that is controlled by a centralized intelligence source. So, like the government or whatever, somebody has to administer all this, and then it feeds into the wrong paradigm, and it's not necessary. This can be made way more egalitarian, people. Now, I realize that some people are frightened by this idea of there actually being possible for everybody to have as much power as they want or need right at their location, right in their hands, without having to go through power grids and power lines and any of that to get there. We don't think that way. We don't realize that the centralized power grid that we've got is completely unnecessary if we understand the structure of reality. The source of all energy, which is practically limitless, it's certainly to our extents and purposes is virtually limitless. It might as well be infinite from where we are. The source of it is everywhere. Now, I understand also that it is necessary for our consciousness to have to rise just a bit. As a group, our consciousness needs to rise slightly. From some angles, it looks like it has to rise a lot. And then from other angles, you see, oh, it's actually risen quite a bit. It needs to come up just a little bit more. For us to be trusted with that kind of power. Trusted with that kind of power. It's not like there's nobody outside of you, by the way. There is nobody outside of you. You are everything, and everything is you. So there's no arbiter. There's no gatekeeper except the structure of the universe itself. You have to know the structure of the universe itself keeps its own gate. And the way I mean that is the biggest secrets of the way the power and the energy works, if you understand how it's all connected to itself and each other, then all of a sudden you are safe. You can be trusted with the knowledge. It's like, how do I say this? When you understand where the full power is, you realize that an individual, in a way, can't abuse it. You think that they can. It looks like we can because you can see people who appear to be abusing power. But if we really understood where power came from, first of all, you can't disempower us. We can't be disempowered. I can't be disempowered. The divinely autonomous individual, when she understands where her power actually comes from, you realize that no one else can take it away from you. All you need to do is focus on where it is and go there. Just go there and execute your power, and no one can stop you from it. And your power has to do with how you connect to the whole, how you orchestrate your own individual rendezvous with the points and pieces on the of the whole, that how you orchestrate your life. And there's so much there's an infinitude of choices right now. There's so many people and so many actions and so many things going on that if you tune into your own life and then ping to your own impulses and rendezvous, you can create whatever life you want. Your influence also lies in your ability to influence either the increasing coherence and natural organic order, your alignment. Your alignment is contagious and will influence others to their alignment. And in our alignment, we find our organization, our divinely inspired, source-centered organization. And through your own alignment, through your own coherence, do you influence the field around you to higher and higher levels of coherence. It works the other way too, to some extent. Your chaos and disorder does have an influence on what'll happen if you are in chaos or disorder, anger, fear, some level of negative emotion and some level of misalignment and chaos. You will start resonating with those around you who have the same problem. And if you don't understand what it is and where it's coming from, you might start imagining that it is the outside condition that y'all are focusing on as you emanate that, as you ping on that negative frequency. And that starts influencing one another. It'll start influencing one another at first to your misalignment. Your misalignment helps encourage others' misalignment. But the way the system works, it has to activate. And what'll happen is different individuals within the group that resonated and now are feeling uncomfortably negative. What'll happen with some of those is they will not like the way that feels. And they will start questioning it, or they will start recognizing it. When you feel bad enough, you say, time out, I can't do this anymore. I don't like feeling bad. I need to feel good. And then you'll start turning the ship around. Some of those will, the momentum of some of that negativity will grow into a little episode of chaos, a little storm, I see January 6th as one of those storms. That's the kind of thing. World War II was one of those storms too, although that one was a big one. That one was a major, major hurricane. There's little tornadoes, there's little dust devils. It's possible you could call January 6th, you could call it a small tornado. The hurricane's coming. Unless we dismantle this energy field, unless we understand how it's building and what it consists of and what is really happening here, and who we really are and all that. Remember, that's the show. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How did I get here? What am I doing here? How does it work? How do I succeed? What does that mean? Succeed at what? What's the object of the exercise? Honestly, that makes a really big difference. Depending on what your parents or your culture or your religion or whatever you have been taught about who you are and how it works. Maybe you've been taught that, you're a one-time, you got one chance at this. And if you're really lucky, you were born into a certain kind of being that, gets a really healthy shot. If you're not lucky, then, oh my gosh, you're born for just a few minutes into a dying child, starving child somewhere on the planet. And that's it. Now you're back in heaven for the rest of all eternity. And if you had a chance to be baptized, then maybe you're there with God and Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Or whatever it is, whatever kinds of things that we teach our children about cosmology. We teach them about, in the ancient history, there was this war in heaven, And I don't know. I don't even want to get into any of the details. There's so many and varied. And the truth of the situation is actually both the same and different than that. I mean, all of our traditions have echoes of what the truth actually is, the truth of who we are and how it works. Uh, I don't know specifically where do I want to go with this? I don't want to be offensive, but who am I and how does this actually work? Depending on what I put as the object of the exercise at the top of the program, and all of this is programmable. You get programmed unconsciously as you grow up. When you go through all these brainwave states, theta and alpha, and then you come into beta or theta, whatever the ones are. When you're in your early years, you're sort of in deep hypnosis, and every single thing that is happening around you, you are taking it in, you are recording it. It is becoming part of your internal programming system as you absorb how your culture works. You're a very sophisticated piece of biotechnology, and you can adapt to any system. You can adapt as a pygmy in the deepest forest of South America or Africa or wherever the pygmies come from. I'm sorry, I actually don't know. Probably West Africa is probably where they come from. Very short, dark people. You can, and their cultures are going to be way different than, say, if you were born and raised in the Hamptons, you know, or perhaps England. You're heading for Eton, you know, or perhaps you come from Mumbai and you live on very crowded streets with all kinds of action and cacophony transpiring all around you. Whatever you are born and raised into, your technology is so sophisticated, so cool. Human beings are so cool. You can adapt, and the way you do it is you spend the first number of years just recording what's happening, just downloading your culture, your all of the information. Your parents, they're all telling you where you came from and how it works. I know why I started this. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause so I can find it. But depending on what you put at the top of the ticket as the object of the exercise, the whole thing flows differently. So say if I put at the top of the exercise that the object of the exercise is to find my inner warrior and then prove myself in battle against my enemies and die in glorious battle so that I can immediately live for eternity in Valhalla, then I have one set, then my actions unfold in one way. If I believe that the object of the exercise is he who dies with the most toys wins, then my life is going to unfold in yet another way. And if I believe that the object of the exercise is for me to understand who I am, who we all are, and how we function, how it works, how life works, and then go work it, then my life unfolds in yet another way. And in the service of that one, say I believe the paradigm that I am in, say if I believe it's a win-lose zero-sum game paradigm, then I play it one way. I believe there's a finite pie. But I feel such expansion and abundance within myself that I go out and I become a multi-billionaire. But others, believing that the pie is finite, think that I have taken their stuff. because, well, what I have done is human beings are creating a kind of a pie. The supply chain of humanity is a kind of a pie. Now, it isn't really finite. At any given moment, it is a certain finite size, but it can grow. I mean, that supply chain of humanity can become really, really abundant. What the problem is right now, as I see it, is what a lot of what is creating that supply chain is sort of a paradigm of us turning truffula trees into thneeds. And at some point, we're going to run out of truffula trees. That's a reference to the Lorax, by the way. Go look it up if you don't know. It's just a question of um, churning your ecosystem into commodities. And we can do better than that, by the way. We can do way, 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 way better than that. We can also do better on the side of the factories that perhaps, I don't know, I'm going to air quote factories because I'm not really talking about factories. I'm just talking about systems that help promote growth. We could um, we could do a lot better job on the co-creation part with nature, blooming and booming the abundance around us. Right now, we're sort of in a paradigm where where the abundance is contracting to the point that we can call it the sixth mass extinction on planet Earth, people. We really should get serious about this. It's a problem. It continues to be a problem. Even though I am going to be coming to you, the spirit I'm coming to you from is I am not sad and I am not upset. I am actually eager and excited for us all to understand who we really are and how blessed and cool the setup really is. It is it is bent in our favor so far. You can't even possibly imagine how in our favor the paradigm setup is. It first of all, just to spoiler alert, it is not win lose, and it is not zero sum game. It is expanding, getting more and more. It doesn't cancel out to zero. It becomes more and more and more and more and more as we play with it, as we dance with it, as we work with it, as we grow with it, as we use it to our purposes. This glorious, it's like uh, a bottle genie. Your wish is my command. It is like a 3D printer that is equipped and prepared to print whatever we desire. This is how it works. You have to learn to focus more on what you want than the what you've got that's making you want what you want. So say you want more money. The what you've got that's making you want more money is the fact that you don't have enough to meet your needs. You can't pay your rent, you can't pay for your shelter and your food, and you're living in a neighborhood where the air and the water is clean and the gunshots are it's peaceful enough that you can get sleep and you have the ability to express yourself and you have relationship with others. That's I just went through the list of 7 needs, the 7 things that people need in order to continue their physical lives. It's actually what every physical being in some form or another needs: air, water, sleep. Well, it's certainly what all human beings need: air, water, sleep, food, shelter, relationship, and expression. Those are the 7 things, and that's basically in the order that if you don't have them, they will kill you. The last ones take a bit of time before you slowly ossify and then seize up and quit being, because there's nothing flowing through you anymore. That's why it takes a while for that to kill you, but it will. And if you can keep all of those going in a beautiful flowing way with the field around you, you can probably go on for quite a long time. As a matter of fact, I think that if you can figure out how to keep everything coherent, with your cells coherent, and there are ways to do that. Understanding how this works is primary, people. So the first goal we said was we want to get off fossil fuels because I think that that's what's shrinking and contracting the natural abundance of life and stuff. And the other thing we need to do is we need to find source energy and hand it to the individual so that they can go off into the field and just create their own little private Idaho. We need to all do that. And some people are going to be crazy ass and they're going to go off into the woods and they're going to create weird cults and they're going to abuse each other. That's true. That is going to happen, and there is no way we can stop that except for one way. Raise awareness all the way around. Raise awareness of who you are and how the field works. And let's get to a general place where we all understand who we are. The way those cults happen is because people don't understand universal consciousness. And when they stumble in there, especially if they have been raised in a paradigm of religious superstition, first of all, where they have been incorrectly informed about how the situation at hand functions, and then they stumble into universal consciousness, they imagine they're the only ones there. And then they feel their own power, their own worth, and their own expansion. And then they feel like they are sent from God on some sort of mission. Now, if you layer on top of that, perhaps they have a traumatized psyche, and they are pinging off their negative minds way too often. You have a recipe for disaster. This is how dangerous cults happen. The problem is when we don't know who we are. If we, in general, understand who we are and what our setup is, then we can be trusted to be sent off into the woods to do our own thing, to raise our own children, to connect and consort with one another, to connect directly to source energy, knowing that on the one hand, we are one. We are one almighty being. We are one almighty species, actually. Well, so that's going down from the being that we are, is the almighty being is, you have to get bigger than that data frame of we are an almighty species, and then you go bigger than that and say we are an almighty biological structure upon the surface of this planet. We are the whole biofield. So what are morphogenetic fields? This just comes to mind because I'm thinking about, what that just showed me as I was looking at that, as I'm kind of navigating around different morphogenetic fields as I identify with myself as an individual. First of all, that is the beginning for you. Your own self is your first. Well, it isn't really. Your individual cells actually probably come first. But then let's go to your individual self, yourself as a human being, as a whole consciousness from your human being standpoint. You are a morphogenetic field. There you are. Then go outwards. All the ways you can identify sort of equal different kinds of fields. So your family is one if you identify as a family. Or live as a family. Whether you consciously think about it or not doesn't really matter. So it's like the kid that goes to the psychiatrist because he's got a problem. The psychiatrist knows that the problem is not contained just within the field of his patient, that it extends out to his greater structures, his family structure, his peer structure, that it goes outward. Then you get to like it gets loose, or tight. I don't know, your neighborhood, your bowling team, your political party, your nationality, your ethnic uh, group, your religion. Then you got to get out at some point. You hit a field that's quite large. It's the morphogenetic field of humanity itself. That is one field. And then that field is also co-creating and cooperating with the rest of the field, which is all of the biofield of the planet. Now, all of those other species and stuff, they have different, fields also. Do you know what a morphogenetic field is? I'm not quite sure how to define it. So we're gonna move on. The second piece of the agenda for this show, the first one is get off fossil fuels. We've talked a lot about that this morning. The second one is to understand our own psychology so that we can understand what our own positive and negative emotions mean. Now you may say, I know what they mean. When I get a negative emotion, it means there's a condition out there in the field that I don't like. Well, that's true. That's true. I wouldn't argue with that. That's not a false statement. But I'm here to tell you that there's a lot more to it than that. And the meaning of the meaning of that negative emotion that condition producing a negative there's a lot more to it than that. First of all, you gotta know, and this is one of my daily slides. There isn't a day that this slide does not come up. You are two beings. You have two minds. You have two very distinct minds. One is the mind that comes from your physical brain. The brain in your skull, your physical mind attached to your human beingness, that's the one on the right. That one is designed to dial into the specific information on the grid where you are, looking where you are, experiencing where you are, pinging off from source where you are. That's the small mind on the right. The bigger one on the left, and also imagine these as spinning discs of attraction. Imagine that they're apertures. I pulled them off the internet. They're camera apertures. One of them is showing an aperture tightly dialed in, focusing in. That's you focusing in to your life around you. The other one is a wide open aperture. It's looking at a lot more than just where you're dialed in. That one is your source. Think of that one as your source mind. Think of it as your vibrational mind. But it is also you. It's still you. It's source, so it's God, but it's not God from somewhere else. It's God from where you stand. Know that that is a part of you. You are a part of God. And God is not separate from you. But you are not God all by yourself. You are God in it with everyone else. It is truly the Almighty, the allness, the everything, the holographic everything that is source. But you have a claim to an anchored point within source, and that's your source mind. That's the one right there on the left. That's you too. That's you, your vibrational self. So the one on the left is vibrational, the one on the right is physical. However, the physical mind on the right thinks thoughts, and those thoughts are vibrational. Now the one on the left, she's just all vibration, and all of her thoughts are vibration. Of course they are. She's vibrational. Her thoughts are vibrational. She's connected to all of reality. She knows what is true. She knows where all the atoms are, where all the molecules are, where all the cells are, where the blood is flowing, where the wind is blowing, what everyone wants. Their desires are foremost in her mind. She knows what everyone wants, and she knows the point where all of our desires meet one another. There's a win-win-win-win-win-win position. Remember we talked about the paradigm? We don't live in a paradigm of win-lose and zero-sum game. We actually live in a paradigm of potential win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win extravaganza. We don't have to keep subtracting and eliminating those around us that don't fit into our paradigm in order for us to function well. We need to find that place where we all thrive, where the greatest number of us do. Now, from your own particular position, you're allowed to emphasize on your own needs. You are. Because it is okay that you care about your own needs more than anybody else does. So you're going to be the one that's going to be taking care of you mostly. And that's okay. It's designed that way. But understand there is a win-win position. And there is a place where we all do better when we all do better. And if we understood all the way down to the soles of our feet, all the way down to the ground itself, if we understood that we were in this together, co-creating, and we share a mind, people. We do share a mind that most people are not in they're not occupying. They're not going into that universal place where we all are and being in the place where we all are together. But we do share a mind. That mind that we share is our source mind. We really do kind of share it. We are bigger beings than we imagine ourselves to be. And even in our physical minds, we can tap into this. You just have to get your physical mind thinking in alignment with the things that our greater mind knows to be true about the situation. How do you do that? Well, defer to your greater mind, first of all. Quit in your physical mind imagining that you just know everything. That your physical mind is primary. Your physical mind is actually not primary, although it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And if you get it into alignment with the reality that your source mind knows about, now your physical mind can become extremely powerful. Do you see how this works? You don't actually get the power unless you are in correct alignment with this wholeness dancing together. And as soon as you get in line with the wholeness dancing together, you can be trusted with the power of the universe, because now you are operating in concert and with the intention of pulling us all forward. You're not just greedily doing it as an individual, irregardless of how you relate to the rest of the field. You're doing it. We all do better when we all do better. You know, you're co-creating with the rest of the group. Your abundance is not causing someone else's lack. You're cutting down all the trees in the neighborhood doesn't leave your neighbors who used to live in the woods bare to the sun now. You instead thought in terms of you being part of a field phenomenon and you being part of a greater whole, and then the ideas that sprang into your mind were beneficent and abundance creating for the rest of the field, not just you. You see how we have to think to make this sustainable? It is okay for us to want what we want, but it is not okay for us to cut out all the needs of the rest of the field. And you don't have to do this in a goody two-shoes kind of way. like, oh, I don't want to include you, but I guess I will, because that's what Jesus says, how to be nice. I don't want to, but I guess I'll be good. It's not like that. You start realizing where the potential actually is, and it becomes exciting as you realize how cool this setup is. How designed to meet everybody's needs it all is. That you don't have to stand victorious with your boot at the throat of your fallen enemy in order to win. That's not what win looks like. That's what lose looks like to me, because that looks like we're still at war. And I'm looking at that for that moment, for that place when we are peace on earth. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men, dancing and playing and singing and cooking and traveling and loving and golfing and cruising and all of the things that we love to do as human beings. Now, right now, we've got a paradigm going on where a certain number of us seem to be slaving and, you know, creaking under the weight of the rest of those who want to play. You know, that's so nice that you're saying, isn't it great to do all that stuff? I wish I could go on a cruise, or I wish I could play golf, or I wish I could. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell, the course of this show is going to show any individual who believes that they are in a paradigm of slavery or under the yoke of some form of tyranny that they believe that there is no way out of. Basically, this instruction is going to show you that there is nowhere where there is no way out of the what you think you are in, and I'm going to show you where your freedom actually is. And when you claim this aspect of your freedom from that position, as soon as you claim the spot, as soon as you get into position, which is basically into the center of your center, is all it is. I mean, it's. I'm going to tell you a lot more detail about how to get there, and we're going to talk a lot about our structure. It's what the whole show is. Who am I? Who am I? How does this work? You're going to realize, as soon as you realize how you're set up, that you get into your own center and then just fly from there. And no one can stop you from going where you're going if you just keep going into your own center and just doing it, just doing it, just doing it. This is basically what I'm doing. This is what Project Who Am I is for me. It's me stepping into the center of my center, and me pulling together all that I am and all that I know and all that I desire, pulling it into one place without resistance, without struggle, without pushing back against anything. I don't really want to push back against anybody in this show. I'm offering nobody resistance. I'm talking about those, I'm going to talk about conspiracy theories, because there certainly are conspiracies out there. There certainly are people conspiring together in their little, things with their ideas about, but they don't matter. You don't have to push back against the conspiracies. You just need to know what you know, and then go in the direction that you want to go. Want what you want and go there. And I'm going to mean that in a very specific, energetic, focusing your consciousness kind of way. You've got to learn to focus your consciousness in the direction of what you want, more than in the direction of what we've got, what we consider to be, air quote, reality. What we consider to be reality more, you have to focus your direction, focus your awareness, your consciousness in the direction of what you want, not in the direction of reality. Now, you can glance at reality. You certainly need to glance at reality. It's sort of like driving fast on a road. You need to glance at the road. You need to look at the road, but the road is flying past you. It's flying underneath you, actually. The road is flying underneath of you. Think of reality around you as the road underneath you. You need to glance at it. You need to keep kind of oriented on the road to some extent, or you'll be flying off the road, through the fences into the ditch. And you want to stay on the road, so you got to kind of keep your eyes but you're not staring at the road and all the details of the road. If you do, then your car has to come to a stop so that you can stand there and stare at the road. Or maybe now you're not driving anymore, you're just kind of walking or something. I don't know. You're creeping along as you study every stone there. You don't really want to do that. If you're going to get to... Actually, how did I hear this? This was so well put. It was in the movie The Secret, actually. It was talking about your ability to get all the way... So you're driving across the country. It's a good analogy. You can get all the way from one coast to the other, and all you can see in front of you is... what, 200... Say you're driving through the lands... You're driving across country at night. That's what it is. You're driving at night. You got your headlights on. You can see about 200 feet ahead of you. That's all you can see. But you can just keep following that light 200 feet ahead of you. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It'll get you all the way from California to New York. Of course, not all in one night, but in any case, the idea is you do not have to know where you're going in order to get where you want to be. You just need to follow the GPS. You need to follow your internal guidance system that is showing you the way. Just take this turn and then take the next turn and then keep... You don't have to know the end answer. You just need to know how to follow your guidance system. So where are we going? Where does everybody want to be? I'll tell you where we want to be. We want to find ourselves. This is the paradigm we want to get to. Abundance everywhere for everyone, including the non-human creatures, by the way. I would like to see general biological abundance return to the whole planet. I want there to be enough food for not just human beings, but all beings. That's what I want. Some people haven't thought so much about that, but abundance, clarity, freedom, peace, fun, efficiency. We would like to see comfort. We all want comfort. We love to play. We like to have playgrounds. We like to have transportation systems where we can move around the planet and visit one another. Because now we can make friends with people on the other side of the planet. We want to be able to go visit them easily and hug them and hold them and laugh with them and golf with them and drink with them and then go back to our own little caves and do our own little things in our own little gardens. And we want to play with each other. We want to be free to call our own shots. We want to each wants to walk their own path. We would love it if our natural selves created a natural abundance and beauty and, I'm telling you, it can. But with human beings, we're kind of a funny beast. Because we have a tendency to, if our psyches get traumatized in any way, we have a tendency to go negative and then believe our negative minds and then live and ping off of those skewed impulses, which then cause us to go out of alignment with the rest of the field around us. We can fix this, but we have to understand ourselves consciously and then understand what our negative emotions mean. So I was about to say something I usually say. It was about a half an hour ago now, though, as I was talking about our two minds being vibrational. When your smaller physical mind, when you in your physical mind choose to take thoughts that don't jive with what your broader perspective knows to be true about the situation, wants you to flow with the situation, is trying to guide you in different directions, when you take thoughts that are contrary to that, first of all, both of your minds are vibrational, and so think of it as both of your minds are thinking vibrational thoughts. So both of your minds are think of them as apples and apples, since they are both vibrational. Now, your physical mind is physical, but that's actually just a denser vibration. Your vibrational mind is purely vibrational. It's just vibration. It's you also. It's you from the inside of yourself all the way to it's you as everything. It's you as the Almighty. It's you as the wholeness. It's you as God. It's you as source. It's you as everything. That's your source mind. You think it doesn't know everything? It does know everything. It is everything. Right? So it's trying to guide you. When you think thoughts that are way out of the resonance with what your inner being knows to be true, even if in a limited way the thought you are thinking might have some level of truth to it, still that difference in resonant frequencies, the difference in those two frequencies, they're too far apart. And that's what's making you feel bad. It's not that condition is true and that's why I feel bad. It's that condition is whatever has triggered a thought in me that is clashing with what my source mind knows to be true about it, and I am going with my small mind instead of my big mind. That frequency difference is making me feel uncomfortable. That uncomfortable feeling I'm calling fear. For instance, hormonal fear is caused by things like adrenaline and stuff, which is the fight or flight response caused by a hormonal jolt that your mind puts into your system when something in your conditions, something in the physical conditions around you trigger like a tiger running at you would do this. Or something so you don't need to think, you just need to react, right? So there is that kind of emotion. But that's not the kind of emotion we're talking about, because the kind of emotion I'm talking about is the kind that you're sitting in your chair in your office and you're feeling. And there's no tiger coming after you, but you may be thinking thoughts inspired by your hormonal responses. You're thinking thoughts that are being driven by a fight or flight impulse that isn't valid. Your negative mind should never be evaluating the world. It's only to give you a jolt of energy to get away from an immediate threat. It never has anything to do with evaluating existential value, meaning, good or bad. My negative emotions are telling me that life is just not worth living. It's not like that. Your negative mind should never be thinking thoughts for you. It should only be there to like run away from a threat, an immediate threat. So, anyway, that's my little explanation. We can talk about the four general states of being. These are important because this is telling you. So, know that your specific is your gas pedal. Your specific is you going faster. When you get specific to the material aspects of the things around you, you are going faster. You start getting specific. You start doing real things in real time. You go out and you plot out your specific garden area, or you decide all the places that you're going to apply for work or school or anything. You're going to go look at flights, or that's you going specific. Specific is the gas. The general is the brakes. It's you going slower. Now, the idea here is you are not actually moving in the direction of what you want unless you are both positive. Well, if you're general positive, you're sort of drifting lightly and gently with the field in the direction of what you want, where you want to go, but you're not going very fast. If you're general, you're not going very fast. Either way. Oh, I've left my light on. If you're general, you're not going fast. If you're specific, you're now going at a higher clip. Now, which direction are you going? Are you positive or are you negative? If you're positive, you're going in the direction of what you want. If you're negative, you're going in the 180 degrees. So it's not just I'm going somewhat in the direction of where I don't want to go. Know that it is 180 degrees. It's 180 degrees. So just flip it, go the other way. And I'm not talking about physical locale directions. I'm talking about frequencies. I'm talking about what it feels like. Because your inner being is feeling the universe. It's not just feeling your emotions. Your inner being is in touch with and feeling the truth, the reality of the whole universe. That's how your inner being is doing it. It is feeling it through vibrational. The whole thing is reverberating. Reverberating is a good word for that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm going to go look up the definition of reverberation, because I think that's exactly what the universe is doing, literally. Hold on. Now, some of the definition refers to talking about it being a loud sound, but there's an archaic one that means to return or re-echo a sound. That's actually not so far off. So, usually we talk about the physical structure of the physical universe. And the physics that I bring into the equation all the time, because I think it's really important. I think this is the physics and mathematical understandings of the 21st and 22nd centuries. I don't know if it can get more sophisticated than this from there, but we can just assume that our awareness can expand and expand and expand and expand forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But it is the... so what am I talking about? I'm talking about Nassim Haramein has done the mathematics that unifies the quantum world and the cosmological world. This is the holy grail of physics. Why has not everybody on the planet heard this? This actually was done in 2012. And I know that Sheldon Cooper was still convinced that it had not been done years after that. So one of the reasons that it has not been probably accepted is because some of the things that it implies about the shape of the universe, about the oneness of the shape of this universe, about the primacy of consciousness, about universal consciousness, about actually there's some really weird things how it works. The universe is made of plonks, by the way. What is a plonk? Actually, do I want to get into this? Do I want to jump ship from where I am and jump over to there? It looks like I am just past an hour, so I have a half an hour left, and I want to very judiciously talk about this whole topic of mine. Who am I? In reference to source energy, going to bring us to two things. One, off fossil fuels. Number two, understanding our own psychology. And it's not, we do need to understand our own individual psychology for sure. And that's obviously the vantage point from where you're going to understand everything else too. But we need to understand the psychology of our fellow human beings, because they are going to be the ones who are going to look like they have lost their minds. They're going to, their incoherence, their lack of alignment is going to bear fruit, by the way. It's going to bear nasty, uncomfortable fruit that those of us around it are going to wish that they could find their alignment. And it is in this service that I do my show. I believe that if humanity would just simply, in a general way, understand this setup that I'm talking about. I'm not getting any more complicated than this. If they would just understand this about themselves, we could find our way to peace on earth, goodwill towards men, win, 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 win paradigms, joyfully cooperative and collaborative efforts, as we all joyfully work from our own position to then collectively click into a greater position where all of us are flowing, we're going with the flow, we're knowing who we are, we're using our guidance, our internal guidance systems. No one is imagining that just because someone is wildly off in their alignment between their physical mind and their vibrational mind, just because they are wildly off does not mean they are bad. No one is bad. Even the worst, horrible, heinous, cruel, unconscious offender out there is not actually bad. They are just grossly, grossly, grossly out of alignment. They are under the influence of the Wetiko condition. It's Wetiko disease. Although it's not exactly a disease, it's a psychic condition. It is catching, though. It is catching. It is contagious, because alignment is contagious and misalignment is contagious. We affect one another quite a bit. That's why we can't get out of each other's business. People are like, go mind your own business. Go mind your own business. Well, your business is my business, because I can't get you out of my head. There's a number of reasons why that's true. Number one, we are part of a single morphogenetic field. And that morphogenetic field is like this data field. It goes beyond the physical objects that we appear to be on the outside. It connects us from a greater position. And we can't escape that. We really are. The other reason is we have these things in our brains called mirror neurons. And these mirror neurons cause us to, when we observe somebody doing something, somebody else doing something, it causes these neurons, these mirror neurons inside of our brains to fire exactly as if we had done the act ourselves. So that means just watching other people do things causes us pain or joy or whatever. And so you want other people to be doing stuff that when I watch you doing it causes me joy. I don't want to be watching you and then it causes me pain. Stop it, stop it, stop it. We can't get out of each other's heads. We can't get out of each other's business. Although if you understand how your equipment works, you actually can get out of their business because you can line it all up so you understand what your business is. And then when you watch other people, you're filled with compassion, first of all, instead of anger whenever they, start causing you, you're filled with anyway, that's not actually where I need to go. Pardon me for 1 second. I've got to pause for a second. I guess it's just important to understand how to work your own equipment. So how do you work your own equipment? When you take a thought that produces a negative emotion, because it is your thoughts are what are producing your emotions, not conditions out there. Because you might just get one little tiny condition that starts a thought, and then you probably could even just sit back and just let the thoughts take you places. Now it's not the condition anymore because your thoughts have gone away from the condition. Your thoughts are on their own. Your emotions are caused by the thoughts you take about things, about the conditions. The conditions themselves can produce a hormonal response, a hormonal thought. That's the fight, flight, the adrenaline or whatever that is designed to make you run away from danger. But you shouldn't be thinking in your negative mind. You shouldn't be thinking hormonal. You shouldn't be thinking on those negative pings. When you do, actually, I had a really interesting thought about that, and then I lost it. Hold on just one moment. Just know that you are a pure positive being, and that's what's causing your negative emotions. When your physical mind takes a thought that doesn't feel good, you call it negative emotion. You blame the condition you were looking at when you got the thought. But it's not the condition's fault. It's the thought. Because you can look at the same condition, the same bad condition, and be compassionate about it, be hopeful about it. You can be in a position where you know full well what you're looking at. You're looking at someone not understanding something, but you also understanding the whole field. You're like, but I know what's coming for you, and I know it's okay. I know we're all right. You can look at it in understanding. You can look at it in why I'm saying all this is because your inner being does look at it this way. I know you can look at it in these benign and wholesome and healthy and positive life-affirming ways, even if you're looking at something you don't like. I know you can because your inner being does. Your inner being does because, well, let's talk for just a moment about why your inner being can afford to be so magnanimous. Why does your inner being not worry about anything? Well, first of all, your inner being is the formless coming into form. And your inner being knows that all you have to do is focus on what you want more than focusing on what you've got and you can morph into anything you want. You can morph the field around you. You live in a giant 3D printer. You live in a giant genie bottle. That's not exactly the right word, because the genie bottle itself implies the confinement. And I'm not talking about the confinement. I'm talking about the possibility. The universe is your genie. It is at your command, but you've got to understand how it works. It's all about your focus. It's all about your attention. What are you putting your attention on, and how? What is the frequency you are on as you focus your attention? It's everything. It is literally everything. What you're focusing upon is what you're getting more of. So if all you can focus on is all the crap that you've got that you don't like, instead of understanding with faith and expectation and eagerness and anticipation and hopefulness and interest and all of that, looking forward to where we're going, instead, if you slump down and you gaze around at you and you look at all what, you can look at what we've got. We've got everything. We've got good and bad. We've got liked and not liked. So what you do, if you're surrounded by, I don't even know what I've got. I don't know. I'm all depressed, and, I look around me and all I can see is what I've got. How do you get out of this pickle that I have just put you into? Well, how you do it is, first of all, you got to understand the law of attraction and the momentum involved with it. The momentum factor is wherever you rest in a thought, if you rest there for 15 seconds, another one just like that will double the momentum of where you are. So now you're twice. Keep going, and it'll happen again, and do it one more time, and you've got a pretty good momentum going, and now it's hard to get off of that negative thought that you just took. That appears to be true. You're focused on, I appear to be alone. I appear to have no money in my bank account. That's what it looks like. And if I focus there, wow. But that's actually not the truth. The truth of the matter is that you have all of the universe at your disposal. You just need to open up your eyes and your heart, and you need to see more than just your bank account. Because the abundance may be trying to come at you from all kinds of ways. The raccoons in the backyard may be trying to indicate something about, hey, pay attention. So who am I? Who am I? Gosh, I really need more than an hour and a half. I need a whole day. I need Bob to go away somewhere and just leave me alone. But then I have to get into this room and just find this space and then just keep recording. Keep recording and keep recording and keep recording and keep recording. Because I have so much that I could talk about. I could fully elucidate my concept of divine autonomy, what that actually means, how that connects to this body of information, who I am, and these spinning discs of individuation, all connected to the source disk that we all spring out of, the spin that we all come out of is the source point, the anchor point of these two minds, by the way. These two minds are anchored to one another. They are tethered together. You cannot escape the fact that they are tethered together. Now, your physical mind, you have the freedom. It's one of the things that religions talk about, how cool we are and how special we are as human beings. We are special because we can think any thought. 360 degrees in any direction we can go. We can go with our source mind. We can go away from our source mind. We can go absolutely in the wrong direction. We can go flow with source. We can swim upstream. We can flow downstream. We can do any of it. Not all the rest of the creatures can. Most of them are roped into source. They are with the flow of the rest of the group. And that's beautiful, and that's blessed, and that's how come their ecosystems always turn out so fragrant and so harmonious and so miraculous and beautiful and kind and cooperative and all of that, and why we're having a bit of a problem. It's because our default setting goes off when our psyches are damaged. We start believing our negative self. And I'm going to tell you something else that happens. Oh, I've wanted to express this. I'm not sure if this is exactly the right time. Is it? 15 minutes. These energy fields that we create when we go with our negative mind. I call them demons. A lot of religious people call them demons too, but then they actually define the demons a little bit different than I'm going to be defining them. I'm going to define them as an energy event in the field. A field phenomenon, if you will, caused by the shadow that we cast when we go with our negative minds. When we go with our negative minds, there is like a negative self that is created in the field at that moment when it happens. It's Wetiko. It's the demon. It's Shiva energy. It's this chaos energy that it's actually a very ordinary thing in a way. It is caused by our misalignment with the light. And we cross our energy stream, and then instead of going with the light, we have cast a shadow, and we believe the shadow, and we go with the shadow. And that's in a nutshell, in a very tiny, not very well described nutshell, that is what we do. And we need to understand how this works, and we need to just stop doing it. And then we will quit creating these dark energies in the field that then we have to imprison or control or make laws for, or all the things that we have to do to control those dark energies once we've created them. But it's all us. It's all us. There's no them. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible, and we as a group comprise a wholeness from which you cannot subtract any of the pieces. You can't subtract us. Every one of us is here for a reason. You know, it is so tempting to just come up with a paradigm that is okay if only that one person or that group or these Henris, those who hate, or Republicans or Democrats or those people, if only the Jews did not exist, then the whole world would be blessed and beautiful, wouldn't it? We just need to subtract them and everything's going to be great. Do you remember how that worked out? Did not work out well. You cannot subtract from the equation that the Almighty hath given us. It is a wholeness for a reason. Every one of us is here for a reason. Do not subtract yourself. Do not subtract others. You cannot do it. So if this is uncomfortable and it's difficult for you to see what I'm saying from the really nose to the glass position that you are in, then back up. Back up a little bit so that you can see a bigger swath of it. We have been taking note of our history. We have been recording history for a reason. We have been doing it so that we will understand ourselves, so that we can see a bigger slice of this picture go by. There's a reason why we have been creating our film medias. Everything from, just my ability to record anything audio or on film and then slap it up on the internet. Well, that came from somewhere, and it's really important human evolutionary stuff. The fact that that war passed, those two horrifying beyond belief, beyond the ability to imagine. Now, my father, who's still alive, he could still tell you about it because he was there. He was 17 years old when he fought the Japanese, when he landed on Tarawa. He didn't go on shore in a Higgins boat. He didn't go on shore. He didn't wade ashore either, chest high in, bloody water, as, because they misread the tides and all. He floated ashore in a freaking balsa wood boat. He had to do that because he was carrying a 50 caliber machine gun, so he had to. But he also had tonsillitis at the time with a fever, a high fever. He said it was 104. I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering that. Maybe it was 102. I don't know. He was sick. He was very sick. But the atmosphere of everything was such that he couldn't bear the idea of his buddies going ashore without him. And he knew that if he told anybody that he was sick, that they would have stuck him in the infirmary and not let him go. In any case, it doesn't matter. Why did I say this? Those wars that were so traumatizing. And I've been traumatized, and we've been traumatized, and our generational trauma has not been healed yet. We're working on it. Even the work that I'm doing here is in the service eventually of the healing of that generational trauma, as we understand who we are and how things like that affect us, and then what we do in response to that, and what part of that response is our positive push to the healing of it. And part of it was this thing that we have developed, this thing we now call the internet, but at first it started with radio. It started with our rudimentary understanding of electromagnetic fields and the quantum field, which happened back in the 1920s. And then now we've got radio, and then now we can communicate with one another somewhat. And then comes television, and then there was only official television stations. Those were the only people that could broadcast, and so it was really important who owned the radio stations and who was broadcasting on the radio stations. Now it almost doesn't matter because you can log into the internet and you can listen to any voice, including mine now. You don't have to be Fraser Crane and his psychological radio show up in Seattle, KACL. You don't have to do that. You can be Joe Blow, anybody with something to say, and get yourself a station, call it something, maybe Who Am I? And then get on the air and just start talking. That's what we've come to. But it was like, so in the midst of all that, there was movies came into being, and our ability to create things like what Steven Spielberg has been able to recreate. He can go into a studio and create a recreation of what D-Day was like, for instance. So now all of a sudden we can go into a theater and experience, without being in that war, we can experience what that feels like. Because he did a really good job of, the cacophony, the chaos, the murder, the mayhem, the fear, the blood, the gore, the all of that. He created it, and it's interesting. Tom Hanks was talking about it. Apparently, it was quite affecting to the people who were in the film too, because as they're filming, all these bangs and booms and stuff is going off around them as they are acting the scenes, and it's a recreation. You're feeling it. You're feeling what that feels like. What our fathers went through to try to overthrow the yoke of Hitler. Now, the truth of the matter is, from the outside, you do have to fight it that way. But honestly, we didn't actually have to fight Hitler from that direction. We can talk about that on another day, because I realize that, and I think it's going to take me longer than 5 minutes to explain it. And that's all I have left on today's episode. I did not talk about Planck's. I did not talk about... I mostly just talked about... I don't know what I talked about. I just went with it. Whatever I was talking about, it flowed. I flowed downstream with it. I didn't orchestrate it. It perhaps did not do my whole program. But I have like 90 some episodes behind me. If you're interested in knowing what my whole thesis is, please go back and check on any of those, because I do talk a lot about the Planck field, and what is this medium I'm swimming in, and how does it actually work? How are we holographic? How does that holographic nature, why does it matter? It matters because, I'll tell you what, when I understood what Nassim was saying about the holographic nature of the universe, and I realized how mathematically true it was, and I can have faith in the truth of that, because the mathematics backs it up. And the technology can back it up too, by the way, if the technology would follow this math and this understanding. But that through the holographic nature of the universe, that's how I can know. I can have faith that my inner being really does know where everything is and how it's moving. So we'll talk about that more in other days. We'll talk about Planck's. The universe is made of Planck's. What is a Planck? Think of it as a single pixelation. It's not, the atom isn't what everything is made of. The Plancks are what everything is made of. And these Plancks are these eeny-weeny, tiny, tiny, short frequencies. They're the tiniest, shortest frequencies that this density of universe can sustain. You go down to a different universe, a denser universe, a smaller universe within this universe, down to the sub-Planck, and now it can be smaller. But here in this universe, the Planck is as small as it can get, and you get that Planck by taking a photon going at the speed of light, crossing its own diameter. Boom, that's a Planck. And these Plancks are sort of winking virtual particles in and out of reality across the, what I call the event horizon of the 0-point energy field. The singularity of singularities, the virtual particles are popping back and forth. And they're doing it all the time, everywhere. The stuff that looks like hard matter is doing it too, but it's mostly winking back in the same way it winked out. Anyway, we got to talk about that some other day. We got to talk. I would like to spend a whole day doing nothing but sitting in this room recording hour after hour after hour after hour. We could get into every topic that you'd want to get into. We could call it some sort of a cram session, or I'll have to come up with a good name for that festival of Who Am I? The Who Am I? The Great Who Am I Project Festival. As I marathon it, how long can I do this? How long can I talk about this topic and continue to bring up fresh angles, fresh perspectives on the same circle of material? We are made of Plancks. Our technology needs to follow our new understanding of the unified physics. It's going to do two things. It's going to plug us directly into source energy. Clean, free energy everywhere on demand. Anywhere. You can disappear into the jungle with your little device that you can power, and create your own little whatever. We need to do that. The other thing it's going to do is, what is it going to do? What is it going to do? What is it going to do? Hold on one second. Anyway, in the future, I will arrange that. I'll make sure, I'll get Bob doing something. And then I'll just start in the morning on some day where I have 100% of the whole day. I will tell the girls to leave me alone. I will not watch Cheers or anything all day long and play Bubble Mouse. Instead, I will sit myself down and start recording and then just go for it. You know, we could talk about divine autonomy. We could talk about the technologies of the future. We can go through the paper, The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. So that's the two things it was going to do. Plug everybody into source energy and free us from gravity. Those are the two things that our understanding of this math is going to bring us. We can get off of the surface of the planet. We can take all of our wires down. We do not need the infrastructure that we have been building. And that's the biggest reason we do not want the Democrats and the Republicans to start getting along with one another. Because as soon as they do, they are going to implement some sort of massive 19th century infrastructure program. 20th century at best. It won't be anywhere near 21st century. So we do not want them to agree on an infrastructure program. We want them to agree with, what do we want them to agree with? I don't know. I think we got to talk about that on some other day too. I don't know what I actually want in that. I want us as human beings to know who we are. Beyond that, I'm not quite sure where I want this to go physically. But I do want peace on earth. I absolutely do. I want freedom for all individuals to walk the path that they feel like they need to walk. And actually, you are free to do the one thing that you need to do in order to live happily ever after. And that is a freedom that no one can take away from you. You have the freedom to unite with your source self. You have the freedom to do that, and it happens within you, and no one can stop it. And from that position, then just follow any impulse you have. But that joining of your two selves all by itself will bring you peace, will bring you... And it doesn't matter where your physical body is confined, whether you're confined in prison, whether you're confined in North Korea. It doesn't matter. If you can know that all you have to do is line your two selves up, and then no one can stop you, well, that's where your true freedom lies. And with that, I you can feel my energy getting funny because I can see that I've passed an hour and a half. I've had a really wonderful time with you this morning. And I look forward to doing it again tomorrow. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Come Friday the 14th, we're on a plane and I'm off for 10 days. So go back and fill up on all the shows I've got behind me. Some 90 shows. A few of them are not public facing, but most of them are. There's at least 80 of them that are public facing where I have tried with more or less effect to describe this question. Who am I? Who am I? So you, as I leave you today, go ponder that question. Who am I? Who are you? You can ask. Who am I? Until tomorrow, then, as always, I wish you well. I bid you peace. Or I wish you peace. I bid you well. I love you. I love you. You are a part of me. No matter how ornery you are, for we are all in this together, and there is only one of us here. And until tomorrow, may the Source be with you.